Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a fabulous day. Today I wanted to discuss resale value. I've had a lot of you request if I can do a video talking about my experiences throughout the years since I have dabbled in the resale markets. Of course, I am not a professional and this is not something that I do for a living, but I just wanted to share my 2 cents and maybe give you guys some pointers, especially if you're looking to sell some of your items from your collection or if you're starting your collection altogether. There are exceptions to some of the areas that I will be discussing, but again, I just wanted to share my experiences. I hope that this video is helpful. If you enjoy it, make sure and give it a thumbs up. And without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Let's start off with handbags. Now I have had quite the learning curve throughout the years, and while I've never regretted any bag that I have purchased and sold, even if it didn't have the best resale value, because the way that I see it, it's been able to help me pinpoint and figure out what ends up working out for my lifestyle, you know? And while I might like something because it's this color or because it has this detail, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bag that I'll end up gravitating towards or a bag that ends up being functional for my lifestyle. All right, so let's start off with colored handbags. I think that the biggest exception when it comes to colored handbags is Hermes. And I feel that way because everyone knows that when it comes to Hermes, they are known for their beautiful colors, whether it's their classics, whether it's their seasonal colors. And sometimes the harder to find, the more rare a color is for their handbags, the higher their resale value is. However, that's not the case for the majority of other fashion houses. Usually with other fashion houses, people tend to go for neutrals, you know, because it's a little bit more appealing. Again, I know that there's going to be a lot of exceptions throughout this video, but I just wanted to share my, my 2 cents. Case in point, I have these two for added eye candy. These are the Chanel wallet on chains. Now, even though I end up using the black one a lot more, it's something that I gravitate towards all the time, I prefer the color of the red one. However, well, actually we all know that I'm a huge fan of the color red and I'm a huge fan of the color pink, but I still don't end up using it too often. I love it, I'm crazy about it, but I always go for good old black. And I feel that when it comes to picking between two colors, for the most part, I end up liking a color, but I know I'll end up going for the black always. And in this particular case, if I was to sell these two, I'd end up getting more money for the black one because it's more appealing to more people. When it comes to a colored handbag, I feel that you have to find someone specific for that color. So if you have a crowd of 10 and 9 out of the 10 prefer the black, that 1 out of 10 will prefer the red. And there I feel that the resale value might end up being a little bit less on the red one because it's not as popular versus something like the black or something neutral in general, you know, so kind of like Louis Vuitton's canvas. So I kind of experienced this firsthand with some of the bags that I had in my collection in the past, and I took some major hits when it came to being able to sell them because, you know, everyone liked the color, but it wasn't necessarily a color that they would end up using all the time, or you know, sometimes the whole color transfer thing comes up. I know that sometimes that comes up for me. For example, the GST. I had the beige Claire. I loved the color. I very seldomly used it because I have a tendency to wear a lot of darker clothing. So I knew that I would immediately end up having quite a bit of color transfer, you know, so I ended up going for the black one. I sold the beige one. It was beautiful. Like I said, I don't regret it, but I didn't get the best price for it because, again, I feel that more people will lean towards a black bag over a beige in this particular instance. So colored handbags, you know, and there's some people that have such beautiful collections when it comes to colored handbags, and I applaud them because I think that they're gorgeous. But I know for me and the type of personality that I have, I can appreciate them, but I always end up going for the neutral because it's just better for my lifestyle. Like I said, I wear a ton of black. It's, you know, for me, it's easier to switch out my bag than it would be to switch out my wardrobe. At least that's how I am. I don't know if you guys are the same. I also wanted to discuss materials on handbags, such as suede or even velvet or even denim. I love some of those style of handbags. I love how vibrant the colors are, even patent leather, but usually they don't have the best resale value. I think it's because of how they might end up wearing over over time. This is just an assumption compared to, let's say, caviar leather or lambskin leather, something that's an all leather handbag, especially with some of the price points that those materials have. So for me, if I have a velvet bag, I think that it's absolutely stunning. I think it's gorgeous, especially, you know, some of the colors that come through, they're just amazing. But let's say that the bag is $3,000. I much rather go for an all leather handbag, something that might end up wearing a little bit better over time versus going for that one. And the reason I say that is because I don't have the economic possibility to be able to get a fun handbag that way that has that type of price point, and then if something happens to it, then so be it, no big deal. I don't have that possibility. If I did, then of course I would be able to, I would want to incorporate all sorts of different materials, but I don't, or I can't, I should say. So I feel that when it comes to materials, you know, although those materials are fun and they're beautiful, they just don't have as good a resale value as the all leather ones, or even in this particular instance, some canvas pieces in comparison to some of the other fun materials that the handbags are made out of. Now I know that patent leather, I've talked about this before on Minks Monday, patent leather is absolutely gorgeous. I have had a few pieces from Louboutin and Vernis, and I think that they are stunning. I mean, the way that they just capture the color is just, I think it's jaw-droppingly beautiful, but it also doesn't have the best resale value because sometimes people don't want to deal with fingerprints that you might end up seeing on the colors, or sometimes it has a little bit of fading because of the coating that the Vernis has. So those are just some things to take into consideration. Now the last thing that I wanted to discuss when it comes to handbags is classic versus trendy, or even seasonal pieces. I have noticed that when it comes to seasonal bags, they might have fantastic price points, they might be great, but they don't have the best resale value as opposed to a classic. So for me, I have always kind of focused on the classics, and that's usually what I end up sticking to. Some people might say that my collection is very boring, and you know, I completely understand, but it makes me feel better because I know all of these items I can rotate, and I don't have to worry that it's going to sit on a shelf or anything like that. So a classic bag will always have a little bit more of a better resale value than something that is just passing through for the season. That's not always the case. Sometimes those seasonal handbags cause such a buzz, and in that particular, you know, in that particular time when it's very popular, then those bags have great resale value in the meantime. But as years go by, if it was once popular, you know, 5 years ago, it might not be as popular 5 years later, and then hence the resale value won't be as great, you know, when you go to sell it. And then I know I said one last thing, but I wanted to talk about monos for Louis Vuitton. Now, the Speedy itself is also a very classic silhouette. A lot of people love this bag, whether you end up going for the bandolier or whether you go for the classic. I do feel that the bandolier, which I have right over here, has a better resale value just because it's also a lot more versatile. But if you go for mono, anytime you personalize anything, the resale value definitely goes down, especially if you are to put your initials on it, because not everyone's going to have your initials and not everyone's going to want the colors that you chose. So you might have a handful of people that want, you know, the pink, but maybe they want the pink with the blue or something like that. So it really ends up hurting the resale value. But for me, you know, I have thought, I was on the fence, all right, I was on the fence about possibly selling this, but I think I'm just going to use it as a travel bag just because I'm crazy about the colors that I chose. It's pink, and I don't see myself getting rid of it anytime soon. So that's kind of along the same lines as far as colored handbags go. I also wanted to discuss clothing or shoes. Anything that's really size specific is a little bit harder to sell, again, because you have to find someone with that same size or someone that wants that particular combo or that particular color that you have for sale. For example, if I was to sell these Chanel espadrilles, while I feel that either way, espadrilles or just shoes in general are difficult to be able to resell just because sometimes the wear and tear that they have, you know, it is what it is when it comes to shoes. I don't baby them, but I feel that these are a lot more appealing because they're the classic line versus something like the pink that's really fun. Some people might like the pink, but most people might end up gravitating more towards the classic. But that also goes with clothing. Some of the ready-to-wear clothing, Again, a lot of people have the possibility to be able to have ready to wear, and I think some of the pieces are stunning, you know, kind of like a huge exception, I would assume, would be Chanel suits, you know, just because they're so timeless. But when it comes to t-shirts or jeans or anything like that, it just doesn't have a very good resale value. But that's the type of thing that you buy because you like, you're going to enjoy, and you're not thinking about resale value or what should I end up doing or anything like that. At least that's how I see it. Now, as far as fashion jewelry, this is kind of a gray area, and some things I have experienced higher resale value and others not so much. I wanted to bring out the Hermes Click Clacks. I think that these are beautiful. I have 3 in my collection. Unfortunately, I can't tell you the last time that I used one, and I think that because these end up having quite a bit of wear on the bottom, for example, this one that I have, you can see that it has a little bit of almost like pitting on the hardware. I don't have any problems on the enamel, but because of the wear and tear that these get, again, this is something that you just use, you don't really think twice about it, and because of that wear and tear, it kind of ends up affecting the resale value if you were to sell it in the future. And of course, if you go for something that's red versus the black will have a higher resale value because it's more appealing to more people versus the red. So like I said, fashion jewelry, it's kind of, it's a little bit hard, and I've noticed that over the years, like for example, Chanel earrings didn't have the best resale value once upon a time. Now I feel that they have a lot better resale value, especially the ones that are the double CC with the Strass crystals, just because those are a little bit harder to find. So they're highly sought after versus some of the other seasonal colors, or some, not the seasonal colors, some of the seasonal styles that end up coming out, people might like, but they might end up going more for classic. I wanted to very briefly talk about sunglasses because I know a lot of you guys have also asked me why I no longer end up going for designer sunglasses. I feel that they're very fleeting. You know, they're in the now, they're really great, and you get to rock them and use them. It's kind of along the same lines as ready to wear or shoes. You just use it, you enjoy it, and you don't think twice. But if you are looking at sunglasses and you're thinking about the resale value, then these don't end up holding up. And I also feel that because they're size specific as far as the type of face that you have, but these, if you're thinking about buying them and then thinking about possibly selling them, unless you buy them and sell them within the same season that they're popular, they don't end up holding their resale value as well. The last area that I wanted to discuss is bag charms. I think bag charms from any fashion house are insanely beautiful. I love the way that they kind of elevate a bag. They add quite a bit of personality to it. They don't have, you know, the best resale value. So you might end up spending $500, $600, $700 on a bag charm that you absolutely love. And then when you go to sell it, you might end up selling it for maybe $150, $200 or anything along those lines. I also had a lot of you guys ask me about consignment shops and how I feel about when it comes to the resale value, and you know how they end up taking quite a bit of money, and that really affects the resale value. Now the way that I feel about consignment shops, I kind of view them as pawn shops. They get their cut and selling the item for you, and I have gone through some of them in the past, namely Yogi's Closet or Fashion File, and what I like about them is because I feel that I have a little bit of peace of mind. And what I mean by that, if I don't have the time, if I don't have the patience to sell an item and to worry and sit there and think, okay, this person, did they get the item? Are they going to do a chargeback? Are they taking advantage of me? Are they going to say that this and that, the other? And you know, and you're worrying about how the sale is going to go. If you end up selling it to a consignment shop, of course, they're not going to give you the same amount of money that you might have gotten for it, but they're the ones that are dealing with all of that stress, and you can just get your money and you go on about your business, or you put that money towards something else. So it's all a matter of how you end up seeing it. I see it as a convenience fee that you don't have to worry about what's going on. And granted, sometimes they don't offer the best the best prices for your items, but you're also not stressing as to how it's going to sell or anything like that. And another big thing when it comes to resale value is the condition that the item's in. Because even if it's a classic, even if it's highly sought after, if that thing has been put through the ringer, if it has wrinkles to death, if it has, you know, chipping hardware, if it has all these other, you know, imperfections that might end up happening, but that's also going to have an effect on how much you end up getting for for the item. However, I mean, who am I to tell you what you should or shouldn't buy? You know, it's all a matter of how you feel about the item. Whether it's a classic piece, whether it's a seasonal piece, whether it's velvet, whether it's leather, whether it's sunglasses or a bag charm or ready to wear, whatever it is, you know, it's all a matter of how you feel about that item. And I know that I'm a lot more adventurous, if you will, when it comes to shoes. I mean, I'm mindful of not wearing my beige espadrilles with my blue jeans or wearing them in the rain, the lambskin ones. But other than that, if they get wear, it is what it is. It's a shoe, and I'm not thinking about the resale value in the long run, or some of the other items that I've purchased. But I'm a lot more, for lack of a better word, I'm a lot more anal when it comes to handbags, just because of what I've experienced in the past. And I feel that I can always appreciate a beautiful red velvet handbag from afar, but I know in my heart of hearts I won't end up going for it. So I don't have the possibility to buy that red handbag, and if it doesn't work out, and if I go to sell it, if I only get, you know, 150 bucks for it or 500 bucks, and I'm just like, okay, no big deal. That is a big deal to me, you know? And like I said, everyone's going to be different and everyone's going to see it differently. But if you're in the same boat as I am, you know, these are just some of the things that I have come across throughout the years. But it's all a matter of how you feel, and not necessarily always thinking about how the item will end up wearing over time or how the resale value might affect it over time. If you love it, if you want to rock a hot pink handbag today, and it's all a matter of how you feel about that hot pink handbag, that's it. That's all that matters. You know, it's not about what it might end up being in the future. For some people it's that way, for some people it's not, like myself. I love the hot pink, I think it's fabulous, I might end up drooling over it, but at the end of the day, I know that I end up going for a black one just because that's more of my personality. I feel more comfortable. And with the price points that these items have, you know, that ends up working out for me. And I'm okay with it. There are no rules when it comes to luxury goods and what you do with your money. Whatever you decide to do, it's up to you. And nobody else should have a saying on what you end up going for. You know, and who knows, maybe in 5 months' time, 5 years' time, I might change completely. And instead of having brown and black bags, I'll have red, pink, and maybe not green or blue because I'm not too crazy about those colors, or orange. I don't know. Who knows? I might have an array of different colors. You never know what the future holds. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope I was able to give you some tips if you're starting if you're starting your collection, or if you're looking to sell some items. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy it, make sure and give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already and you would like to, please subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the red button down below and hitting that bell so you're notified when I upload videos, which is anywhere from 2 to 3 times a week. And I will see you guys next week. And as always, make it a fabulous day or not, the choice is yours. Have a great day.